Percent. All right, let's go. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, happy holidays. Welcome to the Think Big podcast. If you are one of those individuals that want to start getting better at your craft or kind of tired of your W-2, you are in the right place, my friend. Merry Christmas to everyone. Marlon, Sam, you guys could have been hanging out with the families here during the holidays, and here we are on Tuesdays to bring the heat to all those who are coming here to listen. And how you doing today, Sam? Nice to see you. Always all black, bro. Man, what's up, man?
I'm honestly, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm doing good. I'm doing really damn good. The all black is fun. It's accepting what I like wearing, and that's kind of been an interesting thing. But we can get into that later. I'm sure we actually will get into things like that. No, but dude, it's been good. Christmas was great, phenomenal. Got to be unplugged with family and loved ones. But yeah, Marlon, what's Christmas like for you? What's Christmas like?
Oh, our boy
Guess, we lost Sam. Sam. I don't think Sam
Thanos
paid
came through, bro.
he didn't pay his Wi-Fi bill this year. So, but I think Sam was asking me how Christmas was, and yeah, Christmas was pretty good. Hung out here at the house. I'm not so just FYI for everyone, like holiday season, like I don't really do a whole heck of a lot. Me and Alejandro were actually just talking about this offline. So yeah, like the holiday season's always actually like kind of honestly like a little bit of a weird time for me personally. So yeah, man, like I like whenever people bring up like holidays, I kind of just like divert the conversation to somebody else and just do a little ninja tactic to get out of the way.
I dig it, man. I mean, like, and that's an important thing, right? I'm always shocked at the at seeing this during the holiday season, right? People, there's a lot of sensitivities with Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays versus we don't celebrate, and that's always kind of an interesting thing to remember that people believe in different things, and this may not even be a belief thing. This may just be we just don't do holidays much, like just not a thing we really do, right? There's people who celebrate and go ham on their birthdays. There's people who just it's Wednesday, right? So I totally get it. But I'm glad to be here with you guys because we've got a lot happening, right? I think independently in our own lives and our own businesses. I think 2024. I don't know about you guys. I think I'm safe to say this. I think 2024 is going to be probably so far the biggest year for all three of us in real estate, in business, and money, in brand, in speaking, and all of these things. And so it's really kind of cool for me, at least, coming up. This is what the last week. We've got 4 or 5 days left in the year. This is the last Think Big of 2023, and then we go into a new year. And I want to get this feel from you guys. For me, I look at the new year, guys, and I've realized this comes back to wearing all black. And if you guys see what my house looks like, you'd understand that I'm in a very unique kind of place, and I'm tapping in to an aesthetic that I gravitate towards, and it allows me to feel like myself. And one thing that I'm realizing is coming on the cusp of 2024, there is a beautiful calm before the storm feeling. I feel like a storm is brewing, and I'm on the cusp of entering a storm, and that's going to be for all the best reasons possible. But why do I feel like it's a storm? I feel like it's a storm because there's going to be things that I'm not used to. There's going to be levels and opportunities and craze and chaos in this beautiful entropy that's going to come in 2024. And I feel like this is the last moment of peace before we go insane in this new year. How do you guys feel about it? Are you guys a lot more peaceful with it? Are you guys super, super ecstatic? What is the vibe for you guys?
Man, I would say for me, it's still kind of a a mixed feeling. You know, I haven't really put too much grasp into it because I've been busy eliminating a lot of the things that I don't want to repeat in 2024. So I haven't really sat down and thought about it. But I can tell you this: I can tell I'm going to be way smarter in 2024. I'm going to be more intentional. Not saying that I'm not intentional now, but now it's like, you know, when you don't fully understand something yet, so you just take a deep dive without the floaties on. You just take a deep dive and hope you can swim back up. It's one of those situations, you know. So it's like I've learned so much. I've took a lot of deep dives on a lot of things in 2023, and in 2024, let's just say I got my floaties on just because I can properly float over it, and eventually I'll be able to walk on water. Hopefully that analogy makes sense and didn't throw everybody off. So I would say I'm really excited for it. For sure, I'm really excited because I've learned a lot this year, and I'm super grateful for it.
Got you. I love that, man. I mean, and that's it, right? It's diving in the deep end. I think a lot of times we look at, if I look at myself 2 years in the past and I look at where I'm at right now, Sam 2 years ago would be like, dude, you're in the deep end right now, but it's all a matter of perspective, right? You, when you first got started in this industry versus where you're at now, like to that person, to Alejandro 3, 4, 5 years ago, you'd be in the deep end right now. But now you're realizing in the position that you're at, the season that you're in, I still got my floaties on. I got to get rid of this shit so I can actually become who I'm supposed to be and unlock the next level. That's awesome. Marlon, what about you? I want to hear, where is Mindset Marlon's mindset at coming up on the new year?
Yeah, great question. So this is actually interesting. I was thinking about this while you two were talking just now. In 2 days, I'm going to be doing the most difficult challenge that I've ever done in my life up until this point, which is running 100 miles. So I'm going to be doing a 100-mile race December 28th. And I haven't really been making a big deal of it. I haven't been posting it out there on social media much. So most people don't even know that I'm doing this. However, it's getting closer to the day. And I'm at that place where my nerves are kicking in, right? It's just like that reminder of this is big. This is a challenge for me. That's why I chose to do this. That's why I chose to do it before wrapping up the year of 2023. I wanted to end the year doing the most difficult thing that I possibly could do so that I can enter into 2024 with a higher standard, because standards move in a direction, and based on what you do last kind of helps determine what you need to do next. And so raising the bar before entering into the new year is ultimately what I'm doing. And I'd be lying to you guys if I said I wasn't a little nervous, that I wasn't starting to get the pregame jitters. So I'm just in that mental headspace now that, it's been in this mental headspace now for the last maybe 3 or 4 days, just because the date is getting closer. And the reason I'm there is because I know I'm going to accomplish what I set out to do. And I'm aware that it's going to be very difficult. I'm aware that I'm going to be faced with that other side of me, right? I'm going to be going and reintroducing myself to him. And so it's just, it's kind of just getting ready to go to war right now. Not to make it sound dramatic, I'm not a very dramatic person. At least I don't think I am, but that's just where my head is at until after the 28th. So on the 29th, if someone comes and talks to me on Friday, I might be feeling very different. But this is going to be the toughest thing I've ever done.
Hey man, that's interesting. Real quick, I just want to piggyback off and thank you for that, bro. This is one of the things that I picked up in 2023 is just writing down notes more often. And when I write it down, I don't know if you guys get the same experience, but when you start writing something you heard that you thought it was really, really good, it becomes better when you write it down. And it's it start bringing in new ways of actually executing that idea you just wrote down. So Marlon, thank you for putting that one end of the year with the most difficult thing to raise your standards moving forward. Now I'm gonna okay, what is one of the most difficult things I don't want to do in 2023? So in 2024, I have higher standards. So I appreciate you for saying that, brother. That's really dope.
Dude, I mean, that's, and I view it the same way. You mentioned, you feel like you're on the cusp of going to war, right? This is the days before war. This is the moments before you drop into battle. This is the moments when you understand you are about to go through incredible suffering to raise the standard. You understand that you're going to have to accept pain, hurt, suffering for you to complete what you need to complete. And if you end your year this way, you are truly establishing 2024 with not just a new higher potential, but a new foundation, right? A higher foundation period. So, dude, I have to commend you for that, man. See, calm before the storm. I mean, I think that's something that we all kind of equally view. I think a lot of people, they go into 2024 just into new things. And don't get me wrong, there's an overwhelming sense of positivity. I convinced that all three of us are going to make more money than we've ever done. We're going to be bigger than we've ever been. We're going to transcend everything that we're doing because we have clarity and focus that we're unlocking at such a high level. But the reality is that growth, I think one thing that's unique about the three of us and draws us together, and I think draws together the people who watch us, they resonate with this, is they understand that growth is not easy and that growth is not as simple as TikTok and Instagram and all the damn YouTube influencers make it out to be. That in order to become a multi-millionaire who is going to create generational wealth and generational legacy, you have to do uncomfortable shit. You have to break generational curses to build generational wealth. You have to unlock new levels of you, and that is not easy. And so I actually respect and understand, Alejandro is big on going into his monk-like focus where he basically disappears and insulates himself from the world, right? And that barrier of peace is huge. So today, as I want to get into it, today we're going to do two things, I think primarily. We're going to showcase to folks how we are going to set goals primarily, not just for 2024, but mainly Q1, right? Because as business owners, we understand setting a goal for the entire year is great, but the reality is a lot of shit can change in Q1. A lot of shit can change in Q2. So although we may have overarching goals, the reality is we need to make sure that we hit the beginning of the year strong. So I think Marlon, you'll probably lead us in a lot with how to set goals for Q1 on a personal level, on a mindset level, on a spiritual level even. And then I think me and Alejandro can really go ham on showing people how to set goals for their businesses to start off Q1 really amazingly. So Marlon, you work with a lot of coaching clients, and you're helping them become higher performers. You're helping them understand how to unlock higher levels. What do can we know what some of these conversations look like getting into Q1? Are we game planning? Are we, I know when I meet with my partners, my businesses, we say, hey, Q1, we want to make X amount of revenue, right? And in order to do that, we need to generate X amount of leads and X amount of deals. And we need to hire this amount of people to make that amount of money, right? It's very data driven. How do you guys approach personal goals and personal milestones in the new year?
Yeah, great question. So it's very similar. We sit down and we do start to ask those things of what do we want to accomplish. And, we're going to get into that a little bit later tonight. So I'm not going to dive too deep there. But something I bring up that most people forget, which is just as important, isn't where do we want to go? It's how do we want to arrive? And that's something we often fail to think about because we're so focused on getting to the destination that we start to develop this by any means necessary tactic, which is great if you first have established what are your non-negotiables, what are your personal principles, what are the lines in the sand that you are unwilling to cross, and to actually take time to have those sort of conversations, because those are the sort of alignment conversations and the alignment questions that not only help to guide you as an individual and become your North Star, it also helps to create cohesion amongst the team that is inevitable that you need to build in order to do these sort of things. So a question that I start to pose to all of my clients is really understanding who do you want to be when you get there? Because hitting the goal success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And what do I mean by success without fulfillment? If your goal was to go out and make $1 million this year, which is a great goal. A lot of people typically say, I want to go make my first 7 figures this year. Awesome. And if in order to do so, it requires 80-hour work weeks or 70-hour work weeks. So you're putting in all this time. Great. However, if you are a husband and you have a newborn at home and you have a wife who misses you, who hasn't seen you, that you're not communicating with, and while you're working those 80 hours, you never came back and had a conversation with her, you might find that December 31st, 2024, your bank account has the 7 figures, but you're coming home to an empty house. There's a letter on your pillow. Your wife is gone. Your kids are gone because you didn't establish your non-negotiables. Because what you failed to communicate when you were saying, I want 7 figures, is I want to be a 7-figure man who is also a A+ father, who is also an A+ husband. And if we don't establish those things, it might seem obvious, but it gets lost in the mix. We have to keep it at the forefront. We have to absolutely know personally, who do you want to arrive to your destination as? Because then it's going to be the little incremental things that you do along the way that help. It's not going to be one big, right? It's not one night you stayed out too late. It was the consecutive night after night after night without communication. It's everyone thinks success or failure are these large, grand events. And it's really not. It's the small rituals that we do day in and day out. And when you understand your non-negotiables, here's what really interestingly starts to happen. When we understand our non-negotiables, we gain the ability to say this one word: no. My non-negotiables actually let me say no. Hey, do you want to partner with? No. Hey, do you want to look at this? No. Hey, can you come out tomorrow? No. Why? Because this is what I'm working on, and it requires me to say yes to these things because now I'm more aware. But when I'm not aware, I'm out there feeling my way through. So I'm saying yes to everything because I'm trying to find my way. When I know where I want to go, I can actually do that. So the question I want everyone to ask themselves as you're looking at your 2024 plans is, cool, understand what you want. We're going to get the KPIs behind it, behind the numerical goal for your business, but also ask yourself, who do I want to arrive as? Right? My fitness level, my relationships, and my faith. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want that to look like by the end of the year? And then we're going to start to break those things down backwards. We're going to start to add habits, because then from there, we're going to ask, what daily rituals or what daily habits do I need to incorporate in order to make that happen? So Sam, I hope that answers this question.
That's so good, dude. I mean, and it's interesting, right? You see how, guys, I want people to notice this. In life, very often we quickly jump to setting a goal without realizing that a goal set on an improper foundation will fall apart. And so what Marlon did is he said, before, like Sam, I don't want to. He did not say this is the goal for 2024. This is the goal for Q1. He said, before I'm even allowed to set a goal, I have to have a non-negotiable. I have to decide the foundation of who I'm going to be before I'm allowed to do anything else. And this is so critical. And Marlon, you and I are so well connected in this industry. We see so many folks who are absolutely crushing in business, crushing it, making 8-9 figures in this industry a year. And you and I personally know a lot of these guys are big names in the industry. And we know that they have all the success in the world monetarily, but their home lives are a mess. These are men and women who have all the money and all the resources and all the access to impart great change on the world. But a lot of times they use those resources and those connections to indulge in their own vices. And what ends up happening is it doesn't just hurt them. A lot of people don't realize that when you engage in vices and you engage in your lowest primal instincts, what ends up happening is you lose your sense of self. You lose your sense of autonomy, of independence, of control. And it doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the people around you because they will suffer for you. So I love this, guys. And anyone in the chat, I actually want you guys to put in this. What is your non-negotiable for 2024? What are you not willing to give up to get what you need? And I love that you said that, man. This is something that I needed. I felt that I needed permission with when I got into this industry. For those of you guys that know, I came into this industry from one that is not about making money. I came into this industry from an industry that is all about sacrifice and service. and then going into an industry where it's all about basically making as much money as possible, I had this unfortunate preconceived notion that in order for me to become a billionaire or 100 millionaire or whatever, I would effectively have to sell my soul. I would effectively have to engage in horrible things that go against every moral principle that I have, because that was just the cost. That was the sacrifice required to get what you wanted to get. And the reason that I felt that way.
I thought that was just a dramatic pause, but we just lost Sam's
I was like, yo, my man's going to drop some fire right
now. But while we wait for Sam to come back, because I'm sure his internet will cut back on, what's really interesting is Sam is addressing what I said, where we have to create those personal principles. And I want to highlight something. I feel like I have to clarify this, because if anyone's coming from where I used to think, which was believing that you had one, morals, or you had wealth and riches, and that the two could not coexist. And this was a big challenge for me so long, for so many years. I felt like there was this almost like antagonistic relationship between the two, that if a person was going to have a set of personal principles, if a person was going to ultimately desire to be a good person, desire to be a kind person, desire to live by a certain set of rules, it would prevent them from being able to go out and accumulate wealth. And what I actually discovered was there's nothing holding you back from doing so. In fact, I got like my Bible here behind me, right? And I have a buddy that taught me that that's the best business book ever written, right? And that book is just a book on principles. It's a book on this is how to live your life, right? In fact, I remember an acronym that was taught to me that Bible stood for basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? That's what the BIBLE stood for, basic instructions before leaving Earth. And so recognizing that these basic instructions go hand in hand with wealth accumulation, but just like Sam said, what is the point of gaining the world to lose your soul? So guys, it's an important conversation to have with yourself first, and then a very important conversation to have with your partners. In fact, I have my personal principles printed out in my bathroom. My personal principles are, before I start coaching calls with my clients, we actually, I don't know if you ever have done this, Alejandro, I actually go over my personal principles at the beginning of every single coaching call before we begin. The reason being is we have to reestablish the foundation of it's not just about getting to the destination, it's about how do we arrive. We want to arrive strong. We want to arrive as the people that we would look up to, as our younger selves would look up to. So, oh, look at that. Sam's back just in time.
I want to piggyback off on that really quick, Marlon. Go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, guys. Just we're actually in a storm right now. Connection's been dropping all day. I'm so sorry. So if that happens again, show goes on. Go for it, man.
Hey, just move to Texas, bro. We don't have that problem over here. You'll be all right. It's be good for you. Lost my train of thought here. You were speaking about here where you want to, who do you want to be when you get there? It was something interesting. I was listening to a podcast with Alex Hormozi last night while I was doing my walk. It was I like doing uncomfortable stuff. Like yesterday was really cold. It was like 30 degrees. It was really cold just taking my outside workout. It was nighttime. I was listening to podcasts. It's a lot of things I love about Alex Hormozi. And this is not for everybody, because I know you guys are very open-minded to receiving new information. There's so many, that's something I saw a lot in 2023 is where people are struggling. They would ask questions, but they're close-minded at the same time. It just never, the math doesn't math. I was like, what? How do you want to improve, but you keep questioning every advice people give you? Those are one of my biggest pet peeves. And I wrote that down here, Marlon, as a personal principle before any communication you have with anyone. And write down notes, guys, is what I'm telling you. But Alex Hormozi said something that, and what works for him, instead of saying, I need to succeed so I'm able to do X, Y, Z or something like that. He said, instead of doing it, you need to eliminate why you're doing it. You just need to, and don't don't hold me to it, guys. He may have said something completely different, but this is just how I remember it. But he says you just need to fall in love with the process. Like there's no there. Don't say I need to go ahead and do this because XYZ. And I kind of listened to that. I kind of paused the video as I was listening. I'm like, this would make sense because a lot of our goals do change along the way, right? So for example, like Sam, you're like, you know what? I want to make $100,000 in a month. And now you're like, I want to make $1 million a month. So the activity that was required for you to get to $100,000 a month is no longer an exciting thing for you. It has changed. So now it's like your energy shifts a little bit. But if you just fall in love with the process of getting to that, the end goal or whatever you want to achieve, just fall in love with the process, and it won't the time it takes for you to get there won't really matter anymore because you're in love with the process of doing it, which will put you in a position where you're going to get there no matter what. Even if it takes you, I mean, Marlon, you can, how long does it take you to run 5 miles? What would you say?
Maybe like anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes.
Fantastic. It takes me like 2 hours. It takes me like 2 hours. Marlon is like, he's next level when it comes to that. For me, I have to be okay with that. I can use Marlon as like, wow, that's possible, but I have to fall in love with the process of getting there anyways. It's just that process in between. A lot of people miss that because they're too focused on the end goal. And this kind of relates to what you were saying earlier, Marlon, where finding out like who you want to become at that end. Like who are you going to be there? So yeah, I just thought I'd share that. And if you guys don't listen to Alex Hormozi, like you should. This is the one he did with Dion Lewis. Is it Dion Lewis? Did I say it right? Yeah, it was that podcast. Yeah, I think this was like part 2. But that's something that I really agree with instantly because I think like 90% of the stuff I did in 2023, I had no interest in doing it. I just knew it was required, and I did it anyways. So yeah.
Don't do your best. Do what's required. It's one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Okay, Marlon. A lot of folks here who are probably tuning in are a little bit on the newer side. Maybe they've done a few deals, maybe they've done no deals, maybe they're a solopreneur trying to build a team. And I'll get to the business side, and I want to show everyone how to start at the very basic level, looking at quarters and business and revenue and all that kind of good stuff. How they've established their non-negotiables. They say, hey, none of my goals matter if I give up my morals for it, right? Right here, Peter says one of his non-negotiables: don't lose my soul, my value, my morals. Yet make as much money as possible. So the reality is this, man. They have their non-negotiables. They know who they want to arrive at. They want to arrive as a phenomenal person whose moral and integrity is intact. They are loyal to their family and their loved ones. Okay. How does one go about setting up let's just say my goal is this. Let's say I want to start getting into fitness. I am, a newer investor, and I understand Alex Hormozi's jacked, right? Andrew Huberman's jacked. Andy Elliott's jacked. Mindset Marlon's jacked. Alejandro Alvarez is jacked. All these guys. Ed Milet is somewhat on the elderly spectrum right now. And I mean, he's older in age for sure. And he's jacked too. And I'm starting to understand that health has a massive result or an impact on every other aspect of my life, including my business. But I'm a guy who hasn't worked out before, right? How do I make sure I can add fitness and health into 2024 without being a New Year's resolution fallout in the first 30 days?
Great question, right? Because I mean, ultimately we're talking about now discipline and consistency. And so if a person wants to shortcut discipline and consistency, the first thing I'm going to say this, right? This actually doesn't even have to answer your question, but this is just anything that you guys are deciding that are your non-negotiables, like how Peter says, my non-negotiable is not to lose my soul, my value, my morals, yet make as much money as possible. First, acknowledge that there's a reality where you have as much money as you possibly want, along with having your non-negotiables intact. Like that's first things first. You have to acknowledge that life is not a this or that game, but it's a this and that you can absolutely combine the two and create that reality. The second thing is, if my goal is to not fall off, I'm going to create community around my mission. I'm going to create community because community will come with accountability. I have to have some form of accountability. If it's just me by myself without being able to be held, and everyone is different. Maybe you can do this, but in my personal experience, every time I've tried to do things absolutely in isolation, I typically run out of gas at some point. I will eventually run out of juice, and I realize I need to be charged back up. Charging back up looks like going to a meetup. It looks like going to a mastermind. It looks like going and spending time with friends. Sometimes it looks like getting off of like work and going and sitting in front of Netflix and binging a show that inspires me, right? But I get energy from I get energy from somewhere else. So if my goal, right, if the goal is to be in the best shape while building my business, I'm going to go and find the people in my community who are focused on being in the best shape. I'm going to go to the gym with them. I'm going to get a gym buddy. I'm going to make it convenient to my life and convenient to my schedule. I'm not going to overload myself with some stupid program that I can't do for a lifetime. I'm going to go and say like, hey, you know what? The gym is 2 minutes from my house. I've got this time in the morning. It's unspoken for, and it's all possible to do, right? Like it's not taking a massive amount of work and complication for me to make it happen. 5 o'clock, I have nothing on my schedule. 5 a.m., nothing on my schedule. I got a friend who's willing to meet me at the gym at 5 a.m. We're going to get started from there. In fact, I'm going to make it even easier. I'm going to buy a course, or I'm going to hire a trainer, and my programming for what I'm going to need to do will already be programmed for me as well. So when I show up, all I have to do is follow commands, right? The program says 100%. Like so many people ask me every day, Sam, yeah, so like, what are you working on today? Like, what are you going to go work out in the gym? I'm like, I don't know. I hired a personal trainer so that I wouldn't have to think about this, that I can just go and execute. And that's what allows me to be so consistent, because I don't have to keep coming up with a new game plan every day. I can just follow the existing plan. And the first plan was put together so well that I don't have to stress about it. So if your goals for this year, right, for your personal side, for the things you want to do, just create a solid game plan that you either feel so good about, or buy a game plan from somebody else. That's ultimately what we do when we hire mentors. We're buying their game plan. So buy someone else's game plan, get a friend, get an accountability friend, get an accountability partner, get a battle buddy to commit to doing this with you, and preferably get somebody who's already further ahead of you in the thing that you want them to commit to. And that's my approach. That's my actual approach to how I do things. And it's worked well so far in the areas where I've done this, and the areas where I haven't done this, I struggled, right? Like I still have things in my life that I struggle with because I didn't use this same framework. And so that's what works for me personally. So I'm not going to say it's going to work for everybody, but that's what works for me.
Love it. Damn, bro, you got me hyped up right now. You know what's crazy? I was talking. I was when I was in Georgia. I went to the gym. I haven't been to the gym in a while, bro. And I've been working out for like 3 years consistently every single day. And when I went to the gym, bro, I've had the best workout I've had all year. Holy moly, bro! I was walking in there like I was just this huge guy. Like I just felt bigger. I felt like my muscle was just stronger. I felt like the strongest dude in the gym. It was a really interesting moment to self-reflect on myself at that moment, because I was like, man, like I don't even feel tired. I'm like, and I'm doing more reps than what I would personally do if I'm at home by myself. And when I'm at home, I feel like, wow, I'm doing really great. I'm doing really great, till failure to failure. But at the gym, bro, I was lifting heavier weights. I felt great. I felt like, the energy was great. I don't know if it was that specific gym, but instantly when I got back to Texas, I'm like, yeah, I'm signing up for a gym, which I already did. Now I'm looking I have this weird thing. It may be very childish, but if a gym has dirty bathroom, I don't go there. I can't do it.
That's not childish.
Yeah, it's just my thing, bro. You know what? I think Andy Frisella was the one that planted that seed in my mind. He was like, we take care of our bathroom. If you don't take care of it, like you're fired. Like he was just going really hard with it. He was like, first impression is everything. When someone comes into our gym, they have to be welcome, et cetera, et cetera. And he even has something like when you order from, I don't know if you ever order something from Andy Frisella, bro, but you have like someone hand writes a letter thanking you. It's like little things like that, bro, that just makes you feel like you matter. Even though, like, to me, it's not like a requirement for me to do certain things. It just feels great, bro. It feels great to be valued.
Yeah.
So, like, and now when I went to certain gyms and like the bathroom is all dirty, there's like piss on the ground. I'm like, nope, this is not the gym. So it's been a really difficult ride trying to find the right gym, but I'm still there. I'm still going at it, man. And I like that you say hire a personal trainer. Just so you don't even have to think about what to work out that day, bro. Like instantly when you said that, I envisioned myself not having to think about what to work out on that day. I just felt more at ease. So I'm like, wow, that's a sign I need a personal trainer. I need to get that personal trainer because that would feel really great when I don't have to think about it. And by the way, Marlon, I got a cold plunge bucket for Christmas, so I'm excited. And as soon as I got it, I'm like, oh, now I gotta hit on my boy Marlon. Like, hey man, give me some tips. What do I just dive into it? All the ice at the same time. What do I do, man? So we'll talk about that off camera. But yeah, that's just my take on it, man. Find an accountability partner and find someone that's actually doing or has done what you're looking to do, man. Don't just like, hey man, you want to work out? Well, I don't usually work out, but yeah, sure. That's not the guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's like the most important thing about the accountability partner is a lot of people choose their accountability partners based on the lowest barrier of entry of who they feel most comfortable talking to. Instead, find the accountability partner. And we spoke about this actually in one of our very early episodes of the Think Big podcast, that you want to find the people who are obsessives, right? Like I want to find the accountability partner that is going to keep going with or without me, because that's the person that is going to have the sort of pull power, the sort of carry power to get me to keep on going, to keep on growing. And as you guys can see, just like by looking at the fellows on the screen, like those are the sort of people I keep in my life. Like if I decide to sit on my ass, I have no doubt that Sam and Alejandro will keep moving forward. And so the only right choice to make after that will be to get up on my feet and start chasing after. And so I can catch back up. That's what good accountability partners will do. You stop showing up to the gym, they don't also take a break. They keep going, and then a week passes by, and now you're like, dang, your arms got bigger and mine didn't. Dang, you could run longer than me, and I still can't. Now I feel interned as a peer pressure, a healthy bit of peer pressure that, don't even get me started on this, because people try to remove pressure from their life like it's a bad thing. Pressure is the thing that grows us, right? Pressure is uncomfortable. Guys, I don't necessarily like pressure, but I love what it does for me.
Bro, I don't know why you cooking right now, bro, but you're speaking straight heat right now. I was not expecting this today. I don't know what you
I want to ask this really important
about that.
What did you say? Real quick. This
go ahead.
So, yeah, this is so critical, dude, because there's two groups of people. There are the people who need the accountability, right? They need the accountability. They need the circle. They need the campfire. And then I want to, because this is the season that I'm coming into, I have my accountability partners. I have my circle. I've got my people. I've got my brothers on the screen who are problem solving the same way that I am. We're all basically at an equal kind of level, I would say, for the most part in our journeys. And then I've got my people above me who are mentors and friends who are, I mean, a few of which are doing over 100 million a year, and I get to talk to them all the time. I want to actually talk about this. Is there, and I'm playing to a different season here, there are people in the audience right now who I think maybe need less voices in their life. They need less people around them. And, we always talk about the circle of influence. You have all these people around you and you have the campfire, but the problem is not every voice in that campfire deserves real estate in your brain. And so, Marlon, for a guy like me, I'm coming into the new year and I actually have this non-negotiable that I'm in. I have to, one, make sure I am clear in myself and understanding this. I think a lot of people need to hear this. I have to raise the bar of who has access to me. and I have to limit the voices in my head. And I'm not talking like schizophrenia. I'm talking the people who are allowed to have a say in my life and anything that I do. And knowingly or unknowingly, I am giving them value. I am giving them influence and power over my decisions. So Marlon, can you speak to that? I mean, if someone comes to you and then you realize, man, you're sitting with this person, they're a potential coaching client or they are a coaching client, and they say, you start realizing, hey, this person has way too many damn voices in their head. What would you say to them for 2024?
Yeah, great question, Sam. I would actually let a person know they have to become aware of what you're talking about is a person's circle of influence and then their circle of concern, right? And so it's like people, you can know 100 people, but not all 100 people are going to be in your circle of influence. They're in your circle of concern. You're aware of them. They exist. They're real, but they do not have the capacity. They don't have the ability. You do not grant them the permission to influence your behavior. Only the people that are a part of the inner circle. So if we could think of it as two rings, the circle of concern is the larger ring on the outside where your acquaintances will go, the people you meet at networking events, the people that you see on YouTube and things of that nature. They're in your circle of concern. You're aware of them. Then as we get closer to the center, to the core, where we get closer to you, to your essence, we have the circle of influence. And so now this circle of influence, I like to tell people no more than 5 people at a time. No more than 5 people in the circle of influence at a time.
Mm.
And it might be that you have some high caliber individuals. And to Sam's point, this is what starts to raise your value. When you can take a high caliber individual, a person doing over $100 million in sales in a year and about to do an exit, and to remove them from your circle of influence and temporarily place them in your circle of concern. What does that say about the person who's coming in to replace that individual? There's only a limited amount of seats in your life. There's only so much mental bandwidth any of us can absolutely have at a time. This is why we sit there and we think about who do we want to be and what do we want to have, because it becomes really difficult to discern who belongs in the chair when the goal isn't clear. And it can be that your goal was clear in the past. You filled out your circle of influence. You accomplished the goal. You're setting a new target, but you're keeping the old team. And the old team isn't quite suited. It's not outfitted for the next mission. So recognize, the reason I'm saying this is I want people to understand when a person moves from circle of influence to circle of concern, it isn't necessarily as a fault of them. It's nothing bad. It's not a negative activity. It's not a negative transaction that's going on here, but it's a necessary one. Very necessary. So by limiting it to 5, what you're forcing yourself to do as well is you're forcing yourself to prioritize and ask the tough questions. What can this person do for me at this season in my life? What is it that I'm hoping to get from this person? Be aware. Sometimes it feels really weird to say, what can I get from this person? Right? Like, for example, Sam, I would say, like, when I think about Sam, Sam's one of the people that's occupying my circle of influence at this moment in time. And when I think about what do I get from Sam, I get higher level thinking. My mind, I grew up not with a lot of people who are very business minded. When I talk to Sam, I get to access raw data processing business. And it helps absolutely catapult my mind into thinking on a higher level. I come back into my own business and I start asking questions that I normally would not ask of myself, which is absolutely beneficial because I don't know what I don't know. So the people in your circle of influence, if the advice that they give you, if the insights they give you are obvious, they're the wrong people. Because the advice that you need, right? Advice that grows you, inputs that grow you aren't obvious, because if they were obvious, you would already be doing them. So, yeah, that's
so good, man. That's so good. I want everyone to do this because I did this, and it was a huge learning lesson for me because we have, whether we realize it or not, we have both. We have the circle of concern, we have the circle of influence, whether we realize it or not. And what's dangerous is we don't realize very often who's in which. And this is what I want everyone to do. I want everyone to literally draw out the 2 circles on a piece of paper and start listing names, but very intentionally the circle of influence. And these are people who their thoughts, their patterns, their processes, their anything about them, you would allow it to influence, and be honest with yourself. Be completely honest, because if you're not and you lie to yourself, it's not going to help you. Be honest with yourself that does this person in this circle truly influence how I think, move, operate, anything? And if the answer is yes, I want you to do this really quick thing. And it's something that I had to do. Draw out those names. And then after every single one is done, I want you to go next to each name and ask yourself this: did I give you permission to be there? Did I intentionally give you permission to be there? And what you're going to find is that there are voices in your head that are allowing you, and they're actually influencing the moves that you make in life, the trajectory that you move at, the goals that you were chasing, and you may not have actually consciously given them permission to do so. And this is going to go back to 2 weeks ago where I said this, and it's rung true in my head. We're giving influence to people who are planting seeds in your head so that they can reap the benefits down the road, not you. And I want everyone to understand that. So, Marlon, do you have something to say on that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And what I want to add is, if you guys have iPhones, you know, on your text messages, you can pin conversations to the top. I'm constantly changing. I treat it like, if anyone remembers MySpace and you had your top 5, that spot up there is for that purpose for me. So the people at the top of my screen get priority. Those are the people that have the capacity. And like Sam says, I've given permission to them. And by the way, I don't know how far you guys take it. I actually have a conversation with most of these people, and I let them know where I'm putting them in my life, because I want them to have a conscious role in doing so, letting them know that I'm giving them the capacity to influence, and ultimately what I'm really giving them the power to, because I care about getting and arriving how I want to arrive as the man I want to be. I give them veto power. What does that mean? It means I'm basically giving them permission to call me out on my BS. And I'm giving them permission to do so now while I'm calm, because odds are, if it gets to that point where they need to call me out on something in the future, right? And everyone, think about a person that you've seen do something that you want to call them out on it, but you're afraid because it's going to cause conflict. I've given them permission to start that conflict. And it's not that I'm saying in the moment that it will de-escalate the conflict. In fact, it might make things even more heated. But what I'm letting them know is, when I sit down, I've already made a mental decision that upon reflection time, their words carry weight in my reflection time. Whereas what the random dude down the block or the random keyboard warrior on YouTube or on Instagram says about me, that has no bearing, right? It has the tiniest of tiniest room, if any at all, in my reflection time. So it doesn't shift the needle. It's not strong enough to shift the needle, but their words are. So I have that conversation with them because I want them to know that I'm giving you a major responsibility. And if you, just like when you get on an airplane and you're sitting in the emergency row, what do they ask you? They say, in case of an emergency, can we count on you to pull this lever? In case I start acting like a dickhead, can I count on you to call me out on it? And if you're not comfortable doing that, and I come to my senses on my own, and I realize you let me do some stupid stuff, you're being removed from that position for the next flight. You're not sitting in that seat anymore. So that's how to dominate 2024.
I dig it. We're definitely not going to have time today. So what I'm going to do is, we don't have time today to go into the business stuff because we're just going into so much. And guys, if you guys haven't noticed, the three of us make, I would say, a fair bit of money. We're still extremely young in our businesses, in our lives as entrepreneurs. But the reality is, the cool thing with what we're doing here is not just sharing with you all, but we're actually documenting where we're at spiritually, mentally, financially, emotionally, all these things. And what's really cool with me is, in 2030, we're gonna come back and look at this episode and be like, damn, that's where our heads were at. Those are the things that we were saying. Did we follow through on all these things? Right? We're gonna do the same episode exactly a year from now. and we're going to talk about how to dominate 2025. And I'm actually, so I don't want to detract from this conversation because it needs to be had. I want to hear from each of you guys. And I'll start with this. What is a big personal non-negotiable that you are entering this new year with? Is there a central one? Are there 10 different ones that are all equally valuable, or is there one really, really big one? Alejandro, actually, let's start with Alejandro.
Ooh. Damn. I was that kid with his hand down in the back of the class, like, don't pick me yet. But it always happens that way, bro. Like you always. Personal. And this is like for like people, like principle, like towards people, or just in general.
Anything. Let's do this. I actually want us to be specific.
Okay.
In ourselves, not in how we treat, not in externally, personal, internal things that we're doing for us.
Damn, I've done so much. I'm gonna say, honestly, it's just not exposing myself to new partnerships. That's for sure. It's a big one for me. I partner with a lot of amazing people, and just partnership wise, put our friendship at risk, and that's really something I'm focusing on next year. I'm like, honestly, I'm not going to. This is me personally. Just it may change the year after that, but I'm not going to partner up with anyone, unless I can figure it out with my own system, with my own resources behind myself, because I don't want to be put in a position where if you back out the partnership, I'm in trouble. I don't want to be in a position like that, or vice versa, So that's something very personal. Like Marlon said this, like, being able to say no. I said no to a lot of shit last year, but I think I didn't say no enough. So I'm just going to say no a lot more. There's a lot of opportunities that came my way last year that I said yes to and should have said no to. So that's going to be me all 2024. Hey, man, nope. I'm just going to focus on exactly what I said I'm going to do in 2024, and that's it. Doesn't matter how great the opportunity is. I don't care if you can make $1 million in a month. I'm good. Honestly, I really mean that.
Dude, I love that, man. Okay, and I want everyone to understand. Alejandro's in a very specific season, a very unique one, where he's done the thing. He's partnered a lot. And I want a lot of you guys who are brand new, partnership may actually be the answer for you to get through the season that you're in. Just understand that when we go and say what we're doing, just know that. And I want us to be very clear with this. We're not always advocating that you do exactly what we're doing right now, because what we're doing is reflective of where we're at currently. Unless you're in the same spot as us with the same context, with the same background, figure it out for yourself. What does it need? What do you need? So for Alejandro, and I know about that, right? You got a lot of deals going on. You partner with a lot of people because at the time, that was the gas that you needed to pour onto the fire to get to the next level. But now you're here, and what's required of you in the next season is different than what was required in the past. So, dude, I love that. And I'm going to do my best. And here's the thing. There may be a partnership that is absolutely worth it, and it's the right thing to do. But you're going to have to approach it in an extremely methodical, calculated manner. And cool. And I want to know this because we should be able to hold you accountable to these things, right? And if I go and see you in the next 2 months, go and partner with 20 different people that you've never basically had a relationship with before, I'm going to have to call you out on your shit. And so is Marlon. So I love that. Marlon, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, mine's pretty straightforward. I think actually I shared this a couple episodes back. It has to do with this book, right? I'm holding up the Bible. So for people that don't know, one of my core principles is, in fact, not one of the first core principle is for me to put God first. That's a personal decision. And that's something that I want to make sure is not just happening in my personal life, but also a part of my businesses, that people understand where my business comes from. And what's interesting is I grew up in a place where you kind of separated. There's a separation, right? Of, you kind of don't talk. There's certain conversations that you don't bring into business. And for me personally, I don't really believe in that, honestly. I think You bring your character, you bring your person into everything you do, and to hide certain things is an attempt to say, I want to present myself as one way and be another way behind closed doors. And I personally don't resonate with that. So I'm challenging myself every day to be the same man behind and in the open, right? On camera and off camera. So for me, this is the guideline. This is the principle book. This is the rule book. That way, I'm not making up my own rules, and I'm not becoming like a 5-year-old who plays the game of lava tag with you, who's constantly changing the rules every time he's about to get caught. So my rule book is right here, and that's the rule book I'm following personally. So that's a big thing for me going into 2024. Really, just that's a big thing for me. Period. Regardless of the year it is.
I like to piggyback really quick on that. Also, Marlon, I've been reading the Bible for a while now, and I always have this conversation with other people that doesn't read it as much as they should, and I always tell them it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or Jesus or whatever, or how religious are you. It really doesn't matter. But I challenge you to read that book, because if you follow everything on that book, I promise you will have a more fruitful life. Like, logically speaking, there's nothing you can tell me about, well, the book says this, and if you do it, it will guide you into the wrong direction or a very bad path. I personally truly believe that, because I've read it myself, and I've searched. There's nothing in that book that will guide me into the wrong path. So it does. I always have this conversation like, hey, man, because people get really weird about like this religious stuff. Like, that's just the society we're in right now. Like, dude, just read it. Doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter if you believe in God or Jesus, whatever, just read it. Just because a lot of the books that I've read, this is the craziest thing. The books I read for like self-development, I've read them all. And then when I got into the Bible, I'm like, wait, this wasn't on that book. It's the same thing. It's just worded differently. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that's on the Bible already. And the Bible has been created years before these self-development book. Insane. And people are like, yeah, this is the best book. I'm like, read the Bible. Oh, I don't know. I'm not religious. It's weird. All right. So yeah, great stuff, Marlon. That's beautiful, man. Yeah, it's gonna be a great journey.
Dude, I dig that. And I'm going to piggyback on that real quick. Yeah, guys, the reality is whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in subscribing to any type of doctrine, any type of religious practice, the reality is the Bible is a phenomenal book of principles. It is a phenomenal book of principality. And I would say coming into 2024, the one thing that the West and America truly has degraded is principles and standing by them. I think that as technology advances, life gets easier. And when life gets easier, people tend to always look for the easy route. And the reality is principles are hard. Principles are freaking hard to stick with. That's why it is easy to do whatever indulges you. Indulge in the vice, indulge in the bullshit that keeps you up and makes you feel good. Principles are hard. And so whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Torah, whether it's whatever it is, find something that allows you to maintain your principles. And I can guarantee this. I know Marlon and I both feel this the same way, and so does Alejandro. The reality is separating yourself from 99% of people is, in my opinion, not even just about consistency and hard work and dedication. It's about sticking to principles, because 99% of people can't stick to their own freaking principles. And in enough time, they will trip up because they continually lie to themselves about the principles they think they have, and they will forsake them. So, Marlon, I love that for you, man. And you and I have spent quite a bit of time together privately, and I see your relationship that you have to that. And absolutely. So what I'll say is this is, for me, a really big thing going into 2024 personally is not allowing a single person to make a decision for me. I think a lot of times we enter really, really hard points in life, and you guys both know I am on the precipice of a lot of very interesting crossroads, routes that will require me to identify and become a new human being. And very often when people enter these new spaces, what we do is we look for mentors. We look for friends. We look for confidants. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I've realized is very often when we do that, we're not looking for advice. We're not looking for them to have input. We're actually looking for them to make the hard decision for us so we can absolve ourselves of that hardship. And for me, I've realized that I've done that in the past. For me, I've realized that I give way too much sway to people that I hold in my circle of influence. And it's about time, especially now, for me to own every decision that I make. I will get Marlon's advice. I will get Alejandro's advice. I will get my mentor's advice. But every decision is mine to make, my own. And if I ever sense that I am going into a conversation with someone in my circle of influence and I can sense, hey, I'm not looking for advice, I'm actually looking for them to make the decision for me, I need to put up walls right then and there to stop myself. And this is an element of having self-control for me. So number one is I own every decision that I make. A lot of them are going to be hard. But if I don't make them, I am going against my principles. That's part one. And part two for me, the really, really, really damn big thing is, and I think Marlon, you probably know this more than anyone on earth, is I need to be way more calibrated and cerebral with which voices have a say in anything that I do. The problem with being a high performer and a high achiever is that you have a lot of opportunities, you have a lot of options. And then what ends up happening is you have a lot of people that you will attract who will push you in directions that are not for your benefit, but for their own. And it is about time that we all, but me specifically, become much more discerning with who's the one with the advice. What are their intentions? And am I even going to let them have a seat at the table? So for me, straight up, limit the influence, limit the voices. And Marlon said earlier, go find the people, go to where the activity is, go to all these things. That's for someone in a very specific season. For me right now, I actually need to partially go into some level of isolation for me to achieve the next level, achieve the new step. But I love that, guys. And these are really deep things that we're talking about here. If you guys don't want to openly talk about these on the chat, I want you to do us a favor, actually DM us on social media. And like, I will actually give you feedback on the reality of what it's going to take. Because some of this shit is really freaking hard. Marlon, real quick for you, do you have a hard stop coming up?
If it's important, I'll stick on. I do have some things to do tonight, but I'm here to hang out for a little bit.
Well, so what I want to do really quickly is Alejandro mentioned he may have seen some really dope questions. Alejandro, let's do maybe one or two.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go for it. Go find the one.
This is from Jeff Smith from earlier. So Jeff, if you're not here any longer, I apologize. But if you are, thank you for these questions. He asked two questions actually. This is one of them. This is while you were speaking, Marlon. So I'm going to assume it was for you, but I'll read it out. Have you experienced setting a goal, putting in a strategy with actions, and it didn't work out? How did you decide how to pivot to achieve the goal, or did you decide it was not practical?
Great question. I'm going to answer that one really quickly because this is actually pretty common. Also, what's up, Jeff? Jeff's freaking awesome. Had him out here in Arizona for a little bit. The dude's the freaking man. So this occurs often when we set goals. When we set goals, typically we're reaching for something we've never had before, which means our capacity to guess how long it will take and what effort's required is we're almost always wrong, right? It almost always takes longer to get and takes more effort than we could have anticipated because we don't know what we don't know. And so this is why it's so important to sit down and make sure that the goal is actually in alignment. And as Napoleon Hill would say, you have to have a burning desire for its achievement. It's not just a preference for it. Because if I ask anybody on planet Earth, would you like more money? Would you like to be in better shape? And would you like to have more love in your life? Of course, everyone wants to be healthier, wealthier, and wiser. Who would ever say no to those things? So if everyone wants it, question, why doesn't everybody have it? Because it's only a preference. It's not a burning desire. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be. Right? Like I have a burning desire to travel. I really do. I like going new places. I have a burning desire to make friends with interesting people. Like after sitting by myself for a little while, I want to go and make new friends. I want to go out and learn about a person. Like I have a burning desire to ask them deep, intimate questions, like not just have surface level conversation. Some people have a burning desire to sing. Some people have a burning desire to help children. Some people have a burning desire to adopt. Some people have a burning desire for animals, right? Some of my pet people out there, you get it. Like I'm not really a pet person. I'm not, right? But some of you are. Like you're like, no, like I would adopt 14 dogs if I could. And I'm like, I wouldn't even adopt one personally. And so why am I saying all this? Because when the goal is at that place of being a burning desire, what happens is the goal doesn't change. Your approach to how you get there is what you adjust, right? So you become inflexible on the goal, on the outcome, but you become flexible on the how, on how to achieve it. And if you find yourself constantly moving the goal post, if you constantly find yourself moving the finish line, you're going to find that's the feeling that's been deteriorating your confidence. It's been hurting your confidence. It's the reason you question whether or not you can do anything is because every time you set a goal, instead of achieving the goal, you move the finish line. And that's not a good feeling. So get serious about before you set a goal. Do you really, really want this thing? How do I know? Do I really want it? Am I willing to bet my life on it? Am I willing to exchange my life for this? And if that sounds too dramatic, that just means you don't want the thing you're going after. Because every minute that you spend your attention on it, every minute that you spend your time on it, you're already trading your life. You just haven't traded all of your life, but you're already trading your life for it. Let's just make it a conscious decision.
I also like to tag on that if that's okay, Marlon. I have Marlon had the way Marlon. I use the exact same way that Marlon just said it. The only thing that I shift over for me that works for me personally, because I'm a person that get bored really easily with like new stuff. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that. Like, holy crap, I just made $200,000, and it's like 2-3 days later, it's like, oh, okay, like whatever. So for me, what keeps me going. Again, I do 90% of the things I do every day I don't want to do. Is having a burning desire for what I don't want to be, who I don't want to be, or what I don't want to be in life. Such as like, I know for sure I hate being broke. I hate not being able to provide for my mom, for my family, for my grandma. My grandma's building a new home in DR right now, and I feel like she's I don't know what she has going on, but it's a lot of money being thrown towards it, and I don't want to be in a position where, hey, I need this so I can go buy some new cabinets. And the way I think, guys, is like tomorrow's never promised. So I'm going to work my ass off to make sure I can deliver when she needs that. So I have a burning desire not to be able to provide for my loved ones. So for me, it's like I know now all I do is what is it that I need to do not to be in that position. And then that reflects to what Marlon was saying. It's like you have to have a burning desire for this right over here. So I know for me to get over here, it's going to allow me not to be over here where I hate to really be. So now the requirement in the process, it's not a necessity for me to enjoy the process anymore. It's not. I don't care whether it's a hard time. I don't care if it's taking 14 hours in a day or 16 hours in a day. It doesn't matter because I have a burning desire not to go back over here. It's harder to tell someone, especially yourself, that I quit because I'm lazy than it is to tell them, hey, I'm having a hard time or whatever. I really don't know how to word that, but I hope that makes sense because I feel like there's some people like me out there that may not get excited about the end result, but get excited about not being towards the bottom barrel, if that makes sense.
There it is. I'm not going to add anything to that because that was perfect, guys. We're running up on time. We're about 12 minutes late already. I don't want to take any more of these guys' times because Marlon's got a lot of dope shit to do. I know Alejandro does as well. Guys, this is the last Think Big podcast of 2023. Mm-hmm. We've gone on for over a year, and we've just finished a complete year of the Think Big podcast, a full year of it. So reflecting on this, guys, I want to say thank you to you both for sticking through this with me. Because I remember just like yesterday when I came and I asked you guys to do this with me, and you guys were like, I'm in, without a shadow of a doubt. And I am so damn grateful for all of you. Marlon, they got dues to pay, man. They got dues to pay before they can hit it up 2024. What is it?
Yep. So, guys, this is what we need. If you got value from this show tonight, the first thing you can do is go already and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, because believe it or not, that small task of going on your screen right now, clicking the like button, opening up your cell phone, not just listening to us in the background, but actually just stopping what you're doing for a minute to hit the like button does so much for us. It boosts the algorithm. It gives us feedback to know that people are getting value from this. And it helps to spread this show to other people who are in similar spots who gain value from these conversations, because these conversations aren't valuable to everybody. But the people that it is valuable to, the YouTube algorithms can find other people who have similar interests to you. So it just helps us to be discovered by them. And so that's helpful. Also, hit the subscribe button and make sure you have the notification on. So when we do next week's episode, you're the first one to be notified. Also, Sam, Alejandro, and myself, we do upload other videos on our YouTube channels. So by being subscribed, you'll be able to get the notification when those new videos get uploaded. We do our best to put out as much value as possible. We're all very much fans of the model that you give what you desire. So we're currently looking to extract value from the marketplace, which means we have to give value. So our focus right now is very much, we're recognizing that we are having to pay our dues. We're in that stage of our career, which I don't think that stage ever ends, but we're paying our dues by giving value as much as possible. So if you're in a position right now where you need value, you need help, you need information, you need community, you need connection, come back to the Think Big podcast. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was. So, guys, we appreciate you all. We will see you back next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for another episode of the Think Big podcast.